Good afternoon. This is Joe Forward, legal writer for the State Bar of Wisconsin. And today we're talking about legal blogging. And here to talk with us about legal blogging is Stacie Rosenzweig. She is an attorney at Halling and Cayo in Milwaukee, and she also has her own blog called Ethicking. The blog is, she runs her own blog, but it's also as a part of Wistlaw Now, which is hosted by the State Bar of Wisconsin and it's a community of Wisconsin law bloggers of about 40 bloggers. And Stacie's blog is on there. She's going to talk to us about the blog and how she got into it. So Stacie, welcome. How you doing?
Thanks, Joe. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so Stacie, tell us first, what do you do at the law firm? What are your major practice areas?
Well, I do a few things. My major practice areas include ethics, professional responsibility, and licensing across the professions, including relevant here, lawyers. I counsel lawyers on a variety of legal ethics issues and defend them in grievance proceedings and in malpractice cases. I also work, again, like I said, across the professions, so healthcare, insurance, running interference between licensed professionals and the disciplinary agencies. I also work on elections, campaigns, political law, some general litigation, some employment, and the weird stuff that comes my way sometimes.
Okay, so it makes sense that your blog is called Ethicking, which essentially is thinking about ethics. So tell us about the blog. When did you start the blog? Why did you start the blog? Tell us about how you got started on it.
Well, I actually have some experience in blogging from well before I started practicing law. I blogged about politics and about a congressional candidacy back in 2003, 2004, not my own. And did that on and off for a few years. And I just liked I liked writing on my own terms. I've always been a writer since I could pick up a pen, but I like writing things for a more general audience on my own terms. And ethicking.com was launched in October of 2019, and it had been in progress for a little bit before that. But again, I've got a lot of opinions, Joe. I got a lot of things to say, and so I wanted a place to say them that was a little more formal than just ranting on social media. And the tone of ethicking.com is not just a straightforward legal reporting, legal writing blog. It's a little snarky. I will use the term, I have called it a snark blog before, in the vein of some other, like Above the Law and some others within the legal ethics niche as well. But I got started just, again, because I had stuff I wanted to say and wanted to make this, I enjoy this practice area a lot. I know a lot of people are like, ooh, legal ethics, you deal with lawyers, we are your clients, oof. But I really enjoy it, and I like nerding out on the nuances of the Supreme Court rules, and this gave me a way to do it and reach a larger audience that way.
That's great. Yeah, I mean the style and tone of your writing it's different than most blogs that you might see, but I think that's part of the draw and why it's probably popular. So so how often are you posting to the blog?
Well, I had aspired to do something of substance once every 10 days to 2 weeks. I don't always reach that goal, but that's my aspiration. It's usually a few times a month, though. And sometimes it's just small takes. Either like the most recent post I made a couple days ago was a link to a podcast, and so it was a paragraph. But I do try to create more lengthy, more in-depth discussions as frequently as I can. Sometimes it gets updated multiple times a week, and sometimes it's several weeks between posts. That's kind of the advantage of taking on your own blog when somebody's not telling you when things need to be done. But with any blog, you should keep it as updated as you can, because that keeps people coming back. If you don't write something for 6 weeks, 2 months, 3 months, they forget it exists.
Yeah. And in approaching your topics, do you look at current events? When you sit down to write something, are you looking at things that have happened recently? How do you approach every new post?
Well, a lot of it is current events, and a lot of it comes from friends and colleagues emailing me or tagging me on social media with, look at what this person did, look at what this lawyer did and got in trouble for in another state, or look at what this famous lawyer did on TV. Is this right? Was this a dumb thing for this person to do? And that sort of, that gets me into, gets me my topics. But a lot of the topics that I write about are more generally applicable. Sometimes I use those national events as a jumping off point for a more nuanced discussion about what would happen in Wisconsin or what lawyers need to watch out for. Recently in the news, Rudy Giuliani's summary suspension was in the news. And his law license was suspended temporarily pending the outcome of a disciplinary hearing. And a lot of the questions I got from friends, lawyer friends in particular, was, can they do that? And the answers, well, in New York they obviously can because they did, but they also can do it in Wisconsin. And so I wrote an entry in late June on how that works in Wisconsin using the national news as a jumping off point.
Great. And you mentioned that you get feedback from friends and colleagues and family. What kinds of feedback do you get? Do you ever get feedback from clients, or do people contact you as a result of the blog? How have you used it as a networking and business development tool, if that's what you are using it for?
It is a little bit of a business development tool, but because of its tone and tenor, it's a little less orthodox than some more traditional methods. I do hear, at least anecdotally, that people are reading. I was at a couple of years back, right after I launched the blog, or a few months in, I was at a networking event, and somebody made a really bad joke at me. And I realized, like, oh, they got that from my blog. I made that really bad joke on my own blog. They're reading. This is awesome. But I have had a couple of clients who would say, yeah, I saw your blog. I saw an entry on this topic. So I was wondering if you might be able to help me on a similar topic, which is kind of neat. But one thing that when I started this blog and had a conversation with my firm, and this does have the my firm's logo. It is part and parcel of my job. When I was talking about launching, one of the things I said is, one thing I never ever want to put on a page where anybody could see it was SEO speak. I didn't want to, I didn't want to say, if you have a legal ethics problem in Wisconsin, please contact legal ethics lawyer Stacie Rosenzweig through this link to discuss your legal ethics in Wisconsin needs. I mean, you see that a lot you don't see it as, I mean, that's an extreme example. I like to make fun of it a little bit, like everything else, but that's something that I did not want to do for this blog. I wanted it to be organic. I wanted it to be, you get my personality in this. What you see is what you get. I take my job very seriously. I take my work very seriously. I don't take myself seriously all the time. And so, yeah, I do get some feedback on that. That it's more interesting to read than dry analysis of Supreme Court or model rules. And that's something that I've aspired to as well. So when people tell me that they like reading it because they like the tone and they think it's accessible, I think that's a sign of success. Sometimes I do get feedback with, like, your link is broken, or this isn't making much sense, or I think you meant to say plaintiff when you said defendant. And of course, I'll fix that when that comes up.
Yeah. Do you is the blog helpful in your own learning about issues in whatever area you're writing about?
It can be. Sometimes I use it. Sometimes I'm trying to address something for a client when I'm responding perhaps to an OLR complaint, an Office of Lawyer Regulation inquiry. And I'll be thinking, I looked at that issue recently. I know I looked at that issue, and I know I've got some research about that for what I wrote for the blog, and I'm able to use it to pull it out and take another look at it in a more in a setting for a client. So yeah, and sometimes I do stumble upon things like cases or opinions that I hadn't been familiar with before when I'm trying to look up something. The summary suspension process in Wisconsin, I'll go back to that again, is pretty rare. It doesn't happen that often. So I started looking for cases in the OLR compendium of when that might have happened and what the circumstances are like. And I think, I've been able to answer some questions that way.
That's great. So Stacie, in a couple of weeks, in the next week, we're running the 7th annual Wisconsin Law Blogs article. and inside track, which I've been doing for 7 years now. And over the years, you see blogs come and go. You see new blogs come in, other blogs go out. What would your advice be for someone who is thinking about blogging? What would your advice be about approaching the blog and keeping it going, so that you don't lose interest in it, or you create time to do it?
Yeah, I think losing interest in creating time are those are issues with any long-term project like this, where it's not strictly it's not a core competency of your job. In many cases, this is very ancillary to the work being done. It could be a marketing vehicle. It could just be a personal, expressive vehicle. So think about what you want to get out of this. Think about what the purpose of this blog is. Do you want it as a marketing device? Do you want it as a diary? And try to structure what you want to do around that. Have a purpose for it, not just, oh, I like blogs, let's do a blog. Because if you just kind of go in thinking, all right, I'll put together a blog, it's hard to keep that going when you don't have a specific mission for it. But I know that blogging isn't for everybody. I know that some firms may have trouble with blogging, especially when there needs to be a lot of approvals and layers of editorial control. I've always had complete editorial control of this blog. Obviously, if one of my colleagues sent me something saying, ooh, which has never happened, by the way, but if they say, I'm not sure about this, I would take their input seriously, but I don't have to run this up for any approvals. Some firms might have that approval. So if you are trying to work on a blog and you do work for a firm, you should talk to people about what you're doing, make sure it's okay within your firm culture. And see if what you want to do is compatible with your firm culture. Because at the end of the day, you are generally an employee or you're a partner, but you are a member of, if you work for a law firm or an in-house or an agency, you're accountable to your employer. And that's something that you need to see if it balances out. But I think in order to do a blog, you don't necessarily have to be the best writer or the best thinker, but you do have to be interested in doing it. And beyond a blog sounds like a good idea to keep it up. And for me personally, when I write something of substance and I'll boost it through social media, we might post it. I know sometimes the State Bar boosts it on their own through the Westlaw Now network, and I appreciate that. Thank you. But there is that little what is it? The little dopamine or serotonin or whatever it is, the little yay, people are reading. That's a nice, it's a nice little ego boost. And frankly, that's, that may sound weird to say, but hearing that's getting that sort of ego boost it's a good motivator to keep going. So
her blog is Ethicking. It's called Ethicking. Check it out at ethicking.com. Also, you can find it at whistlawnow.com. Stacie, thanks so much for your time. It was great to hear about your experiences with legal blogging, and we'll catch you soon.
Thanks, Joe.